One love, one love. How y'all doing? How y'all doing? Welcome to the African Speaks. Now I'm trying to get this all this technology that I'm running on, and so let's see here. We get all this stuff up and working and running, so that we are up to par. Getting it right here. So if you have something to say, I can see you say it. Ain't that something? Now, today's show, we had to make some, how you have to have a throw a curveball or a fastball or a slider. Just a changeup. One of those things. This is a changeup. Because this particular conversation has been a going on around the community for a minute. And so it's take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine. Mm. Get educated. So that's what I'm going to title this. Take the vaccine or don't take the vaccine. That's not the question. The issue is get educated. Now, I can't, normally on the African Speaks, I speak with a particular authority. And that's a divine authority that there's a particular word that is in me that I speak out. And I said, I speak from that divine authority. And most of the time, in these scenarios, when we're having these conversations as a community, but before I continue, if you would like to comment, please go to the African Speaks Facebook page. The African Speaks Facebook page. The YouTube page, I didn't have a time, it's set up, but I didn't have time to pull the comments off the page. So if you go to the African Speak, now there's my personal page, a Jada African. Yeah, you can't do personal pages on live stream, and they won't let you collect the information off of it. Public pages, yes. And I need to do a class on how to do all of this. I'll do a class on how to do all of this. So I'm not the only one being able to do it. So I can send some of my wisdom on what I found out on how to create something like this. And when I first did it, my brother was shocked. He said, "So where are you getting your cameras from?" I said, "I do all this with a cell phone." "How do you get the graphics? How do you get that?" I said, that was something I kept to myself. But I've elevated it to a high level 4K camera. And of course, I got serious high powered PCs now, but that's not what you need to start. So we might have to have a conversation on that. But this particular conversation is a conversation that individuals have been talking about and individuals are running, but no one is giving an education on it. Now, I'm not the authority. So I'm going to say that right away. I'm not the authority. And I haven't had anybody from my community that speaks with that medical wisdom. This is their life. Say, take it or not take it. What the conversation is, you have to do your research and you have to make that decision. You have to do your research and you have to make that decision. And I'm in the process of still researching. I'm a research, and research. I'm going to, now, I've been busy building, creating, and developing things within my community so that we can continue staying connected as a community during this quarantine experience. So I haven't had, now, I'm a nerd. I'm a nerd. I'm the coolest nerd you ever gonna meet. Uh, Growing up with me in New York, you would have never known I was a nerd because I didn't come off like that. I came off as cool as all outdoors. These hands, woo, in them streets of New York, them hands was nice. Dancing, loved it. Now, however, at heart, I love receiving information that gives me an understanding about the world I live in. Loved it. When I became a father, for the first time, I set out to educate myself as much as possible so that when my kid answers that question that every kid asks, I would have some answers. And that question is why? Why? Well, you know, you can't have cake for breakfast. Why? You can't eat your dessert before dinner. Why? It's raining and storming outside. You can't go out to play. Why? So that process of receiving and gaining information so that we're educated about the things we are doing is important. And so this is not necessarily to tell you what to do and what not to do, but it gives you the answers or some close to the answers of take it or not take it. And then if you make the decision to take it, which one are you taking? And then why are you taking it? Because I've had individuals who brag about taking it. And I'm inquisitive. I have a daughter with lupus. Before COVID, she had just got hit. She was fighting for her life. And so when she was like months, not even, yeah, about 2 months out of the hospital, boy, she says, Daddy, I think I'm well enough to go back to college. I was like, wait a minute, that germ-infested location, educational facility? No, 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 no. And she said, yeah, I got to go. So she goes, and I'm saying germ-infested, and then COVID didn't even really, it just started. So it didn't hit the city or the country the way it has. We wasn't even anywhere quarantined. And so she was like, Dad, I got to go back. And I didn't want to stop her life. I said, you know what? Go do you, grow. Whatever you need. And so we got an apartment off campus so that she can separate, cook her own foods and do the things she need to do. And then when it hit, it's like, yeah, they evacuating the campuses now. It's time for you to come home. And then you have a zero immune system. We got to take care of you. And so we need to make sure that everything that we do is sterilized, because I can't, I'm not, she's not going to get it from me because she's clear. I got to take care of myself. So I'm making sure as I learn the newness of my body, which is dealing with lupus, and learn how to protect myself and get the best health out of the body that I have. I got to make sure I also don't expose myself to something that could literally take me out. And when she went home from the doctor before COVID hit, before it came down as major as it was, her doctor said, you can't even sneeze in your house. You can't cough in your house. You can't catch a common cold because she has a 0% immune system at this particular point, just to get her immune system under control, and will slowly build it back up. But right now, she has nothing. So I had to be careful at everything. And then when this has hit, life structure completely changed. And if I could show you when you walk up my door, you got Perel hand sanitizer, body spray, hand wipes, rubber gloves, everything to make sure that I don't bring anything in. And that's anything in, not just COVID. And God bless. Now, praise be. We good right now, and I have to leave every day to go to work. Her mom, she's got to work every day. And we discussed it. She's not going to get it from outside. If she get it, it's because we're carriers. And I'm not even a fear about catching it. My issue was being asymptomatic. That's how strong my immune system is. I would carry something and not even know I have it. And or hey, shoot. And now somebody else got it. But I have no symptoms. And so, do you get it or do you not get it? And because she has lupus doesn't mean I'm running to get it. Because there's a solution for it doesn't mean I'm running to get it. Now, I had one individual tell me that the reason they got it was to be the guinea pig for their family. I said, what? So there was no education to help them understand who, what, when, where, and why. Why one shot versus two? If you take two, what's the issue in terms of the time? What was the testing or the data or the research behind it, and why? What are the differences? Because there are absolute differences in each version of the vaccine. There are differences, which, you have the Pfizer one, the Moderna one, and AstraZeneca one, right? Those are the three that I know about. So which one did you pick? And well, my doctor has Pfizer. Okay, so then if your doctor has Pfizer, did you ask your doctor why did they choose that version, and what is it about that version that they believe in? Questions. questions, and the efficacy. That's the key word, efficacy. How well does this thing work and what does it do? Because it doesn't stop you, according to what I heard, it doesn't stop you from getting it. It stops the effects of the virus from being as bad. It kills the effectiveness, because they said it causes so many things in you. So the efficacy of it suppressing the symptoms of the virus, until I guess you heal from it, or that it fights it. But you can be asymptomatic with it, according to what I understand. Now, one of the things that I know about the us, some of us, we're not going to read medical jargon. This is not, I'm a nerd. If I feel like I want to read it, I'm going to read it. Some of us are not going to watch the news and trust it, because they have their sides. Now, when I look for information, I look for a neutral party, and I look for something that's entertaining to the point where my mind can hold it. And there are multiple ways of, and I'm going to share with you, you'll see it in a few minutes, the process I went to help me understand the viruses, then the development of the vaccines, what was the workflow for producing the vaccines, then the breakdown of how those three, Moderna, Pfizer, and AstraZeneca, and I keep looking because I have it on the screen, and I'm going to share my screen in a few minutes. But what does that look like? What is it, you know what I mean? And what was that? And so for me, and I don't know how you learn. I don't know how you go about this, but I can tell you another scenario. Individuals bragging about taking it, and when I said, well, why did you take it? And why did you choose the one you chose? No answers. With us knowing that, because one of the things that I haven't found, in the information that I haven't found, that I'm still looking, and if y'all have it, please let me know. If the research comes, please let me know. Because in all my research, I can't find out how many black people they tested, how many Asian people they tested, versus how many white people they tested. I want to know, because our DNA, because this is cellular. This is cellular. There's a version of it that does go into the nucleus of your cell. And that's that little core. It goes into the nucleus of your cell. But they said it doesn't bother the DNA. It doesn't alter, but it's inside the nucleus. And then it gives stuff into the outer cell, and then it comes out. Now, again, I'm going to watch this video 3 or 4 times until it's in my brain. And that's what I do. And I don't know about y'all. Me and my kid brother, Benny, one love. Hope you're listening, because this is good information. We do something called YouTube University. YouTube University. One shout out to Cardinal Swag, because I heard you got on YouTube University and killed it last Friday. One love, because sometimes that's what it takes. YouTube University. I'm going to sit down and learn something for myself so that I can do something for myself. That's a beautiful thing. YouTube University. Certain individuals I know are troopers with this YouTube thing. You trying to educate yourself on something, you got to be able to use the internet for the purpose of educating yourself, for upliftment, rather than just pure entertainment. And that's why they said they don't fear black people being on the internet, because it's we're not using nothing for but entertainment, and that's an issue. Now, let me wake this up real quick. Now, one of the things that in this process, I also had an individual who took it, and I'm like, why? And what did you take? And and then you beating your chest like, ha, I got my shot. What was the purpose of you taking it? Which one did you take, and why do you felt that you need to take it? and what drove you to get it. And then I found out later because, of course, that wasn't an open conversation. It's just the bragging that I took it. Well, you ain't gotta take it. But they had to go back to work, and you can't work with around youth without taking it. Certain jobs make it mandatory that you. It's just like the flu shot. When I was doing tech support in hospitals, yeah, I had to take the flu shot, but I never took a flu shot before, and I never ever caught the flu. You know what I'm saying? Not until I took the shot, and once I took the shot, I was sick as all outdoors. I don't even experience the level of illness I had when I took my first shot ever. It was it. Oof. I was sick for like 3 months. It wasn't even a phase. I was sick for 3 months with that first flu shot. And man, if I get a cold, it's gone like in 3 days. I was sick for 3 months after my first flu shot. That was crazy. I said, yeah, you can't. I'm not. Yeah. Yeah, I let it go. Now in this space where every time you're talking to somebody, well, why are you taking it? And I had someone on my current job who was running out to take it, and they weren't necessarily educated. It was just the fact that the doctor office called and said, "Hey, we got the vaccine. Don't you want to take it?" Wait, wait, wait. So you didn't call the doctor's office? No. You didn't inform your doctor that this is something that you wanted to do? No. You got a call from your doctor's office, and the doctor office told you, "Hey, we have the vaccine. Don't you want to take it?" Yeah. Wow. Now I got a doctor too. Well, I just got one last year because I don't. I didn't get a call. Why would your doctor call you and say, "Don't you want to take it"? Hmm. That's another question. Are they getting paid to give the vaccine out? Another question. And the only reason why I'm so inquisitive about this thing is because of our history as black people in this country when it comes to the medical field. There were studies that I did on melanin when I had to do my first adult sermon, and I did the studies on melanin. But I found out in terms of the study of the genomes, and DNA that when they're making medicine, they don't use us as examples. They don't use our DNA as examples to make medicine. That's why a lot of medicines don't really work. And when they take medicines to the motherland, it don't work on them. And our doses might be higher than everybody else's because it don't work on us like it work on them. Because of the structure of our DNA and our cellular structure. It's a whole lot different. There's a lot to go on. And this is why you have multiple test studies and multiple people and multiple types. And I want to know the percent because none of these studies are telling me the percent of the study group that was African American. And so even now, and with these study groups, there is still no cemented information given out that tells us what the effects are. And I've looked at some side effects, and some severe side effects where people's lives are changed forever. And that's a scary thing. And it's according to the percentages, they say, well, it's still better than not giving out the the vaccine because the amount of people who can be affected in this particular way is a very, very small percent. How do you know whether or not you reach that percentile? That's a question, and those are studies that they're gonna, or situations that they got to continue to study. Now, the good brother that I will listen to, Tuskegee, Dr. Warren Rubin, one love. I appreciate you, brother, in the community. He said, "Now I'm gonna tell you not to take. I'm not gonna tell you to take it. I'm gonna tell you not to take it. I'm gonna tell you to educate yourself, and then make a clear decision on the education." And that's clear. So this is not gonna be a long show. However, but I'm gonna give you a resource to educate, and in that resource, and again, I need you to understand how to use the web, and we might have to have that conversation. What do you use the internet for? So every now and then when I have free time, I'm in and off, in and off, in and off, creating, in and off, in and off, creating, trying to gain some understanding of what's going out there because we have these questions. We have these questions that our spirit, I gotta know. Because again, you're talking to, and I'm not just hoax or no hoax. I have a child who has lupus, and she's building her immune system back, and I don't even want to bring a regular germ, let alone the COVID. And if I feel, hey, I don't feel good today, You got to go downstairs and lock yourself off because I need to sterilize the upstairs area so that you're not catching anything if I am coming down with something. And I had that happen, But then in 2 or 3 days, I'm perfectly fine. That's my immune system. Now that may not be yours, but that's mine. So in this space, you have to when you're dealing with, let's say, when you're dealing with looking for information, there YouTube has been placed out there where people are using it not for necessarily uh, amusement. TikTok, the Snapchat, everything that's going on, it's more than that. It's something that can educate and elevate you if you're looking for the right information. And so in this space, I'm going to sit down and say, I, when I learn, I like to learn visually. If you can draw a diagram for me and make it look attractive, my mind will memorize the diagram and it will follow through it. Now, I might have to look at the video a couple of times so that I take a picture because it's a 45-minute video. That's how informative it is. It breaks it all down, 45-minute video. And so, in order for me to get that whole hour of information, so if I was still in college and I had to read the textbook and I read the textbooks, I might read, if we're having a test on something, instead of me just read, not only do I read my notes, but I will read that chapter over like 7 to 10 times because there's nothing in that chapter that I'm not going to be able to discuss. So that's a part of my study habit. Over till it's in me and I know it and I can see it on that page and I can discuss it. And then it comes out as though it was my information, right? And then I put it in with all this other stuff, and then I come up with my own thoughts. That's when you go on and you creating a thesis because you've gathered information and you're coming up with your own level of science. Different. So in the African Speaks, we speak from that authority, but I don't have that authority to speak to you on the education of these three vaccines: Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. I don't have that. However, I can at least give you a resource and show you how to use the resources we have, because one thing that never happened since COVID, that we have never been off the internet. We've been more on the internet in this particular period of time than we've ever been. So then how are you, who, what, when, where, and why are you here? What are you using it for? And if it's just pure entertainment, there's nothing wrong with entertainment. But according to what the world is going through, you got to be able to educate yourself too. And that's real. And if that's not what you're doing, then there's something wrong. Because that means, how are you getting your information to make these decisions? Because everybody I talk to, when I ask them, why did you take it? Nobody has an answer. And if you know me personally and you sat down and said it and I went and asked you why, yes, I'll talk about you because that's affecting how I'm experiencing it. And of course, we can make the decisions ourselves. We can make these decisions how we want to ourselves. But when I ask you and you have no clue, then that means, wow, I can understand how black folk has been in this country and we've been guinea pigs because we ask no questions. We asking no questions. Because when someone comes to you to be enlightened on the wisdom that you have, the African Speaks. Wow. You made a decision. So someone comes to you to ask you why, because they're looking for elevation and a sense of understanding. Why? Don't give me, oh, it's a hoax. What? It's not a hoax. You can see that. Yeah, it was generated in a factory. We know that. Some said that the vaccine has been already out there. Okay, I haven't found the patent yet. And if I find the patent number to tell you that the vaccine has been already made for a long time, fine. But they said, but yeah, I remember finding a patent for COVID, and I went to go get it and couldn't find it. So if anybody finds it again, get the patent for me. So I can show people how this was created, and the 8 scientists that created, some of them Americans, some of them was from China and Germany. It was it's a multitude of individuals who came up with a pathogen that could topple civilizations and governments. What? Who would want to be wanting to work on that? Who wants population control? Think about it. And so now in this space, do you or do you not take it? So being visual and this is what I hope. When I found this particular thing, and I'm explaining to you what I think a ninja is. A ninja, and you'll see it because it's called he calls himself the ninja nerd. That means I'm quiet. You don't see me. You don't know how much I know because ninjas are stealthy. You don't know, but I know a whole bunch. And his the page, if you go to it, and let me switch to it, so I'm gonna stop. And I don't know if you're gonna be hearing them talk because it's up here, so I'm gonna merge. That's not it. There we go. So when I had someone in my office at work who was headed to go take this vaccine, and you could look in her eyes and you can tell that she was scared because her doctor called and said, "We got it, come get it." And she has to leave the house every day to go to work. And now she takes care of her grandbaby because the parents are no longer here. They transitioned. So she's the only thing that her grandbaby has. And she wants to make sure, and that's why she said, I can make this decision when you talk about it. I have to try whatever I can try because I'm all she has. And I think she's only like 15. So I'm all she has, and I need to be here as long as possible. So I'm going to do what I can to be there. Wow. So which one are you going to take? Says, well, Pfizer. Well, let's learn the difference between Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca. And so I sat there in my office and I pulled up YouTube and I explained to her, don't always take it for the truth, but you can find one page, look at the information, try to retain it, and then go listen to someone else. Look at the information, try to retain it, and then look at something else. Look at the information and try to retain it, and then ask yourself, should I or shouldn't I? Now, with what I found out in terms of the nerd, the ninja nerd, and I like this. And if you learn this way, that's fine. If you don't, some people learn from lectures, reading. Just read it yourself, and they just read all day. I can be that way. It depends on what spirit I'm in. I'm never really forced to learn any particular way. I can learn anyway. When I learned graphics, I got a book. I had no computer, no software, no nothing. I opened the book, read the book, understood how to do it, and by the time I was able to afford and purchase a PC, my graphic skills was good. Just from here and reading it. That's real talk. I'm built like that. So some people learn just by reading. Some people learn by visual effects. Visual effects. Some people learn by hands-on instruction. You got to touch it. You got to feel it. So what would you do? You would just, if he's doing a diagram, write the diagram. Write it down. As you draw the diagram, it makes sense. And you can see it. Do the same colors. Do everything that he's doing. And then, some people, like hands-on. So those three. I don't know. I forget the fourth one. Please forgive me. But that's important. So in this, I sat down and I took my time. So a ninja is, stealthy. Nerd. You have to be a nerd when there are things that's happening around you that you don't know. You got to, it's got to click in. So what I did was I took my time, and I think you can hear it. Let me see, because I can hear it, and I'm looking to see if you can't hear it. So you see him talking now in this space. Hold on. So you can't, yeah. So I didn't put it. Now I could have pulled it, and I didn't want to watch it with you. But what I want to do is in this process is watch the process. So he's breaking down the vaccine development, and so again, this is he is it's called, his page is Ninja Nerd, and you can find tons of medical stuff on this particular Ninja Nerd, tons of information, and so not only does he give you a simple means of actually doing it, but he gives you an intellectual means as well. When you start talking about this, how it approaches how the vaccine approaches the cell, how it enters the cell. It talks about the S protein on the virus, and that's the S protein that's causing everything, and how they have to have the antibodies to affect that. Then they also talked about the fact that like you said, efficacy. What does it do? And then how well does it do it? And then with all three of them, let me see if I can skip to the middle. And then you see how he's talking about the phases now, but we're going to go here in this space where, and we're gonna go back because I want y'all to see you're dealing with boom. So now he's dealing with the fire, and he breaks it down to the point where you can literally understand it and see what's going to happen inside your body. And if with all everybody's going around trying to make a decision, and if you haven't made your decision because you don't know, that means you have to go find out some information. And a lot of times we get to that point where, because we use the internet for just pure entertainment, nothing uplifting. And I always told people, by the time COVID is over and the restriction is over, if you have not elevated your skill in any shape, form, or fashion, then you have not given the creator the time that he needs to work with you. And that doesn't mean learn everything. You just use it to learn about um, the virus. But whatever training you need, you can get it here. Now, I did something this week, and we'll talk about that some other time. But everything I need to learn, I said I don't need to be paying anybody right now for the education that I can get here, because you can read books and you got the downloads, Audible. I can do that too. So it depends on how you're allowing yourself to grow. But in this space, he's breaking down, and not only did he break down, like I said, how Pfizer works, and what did that, what how that it approaches or enters into your cellular structure. And with Pfizer, it doesn't enter the nucleus of the cell. But Moderna, and he breaks it down when you get here. Wait, boom. How it does enter, well, that's AstraZeneca. Where you at? There you go. How it does break in, if you see how Moderna, and then they said it does enter into that cellular level. It enters into your nucleus, but it doesn't. It said it doesn't mess with the DNA. It doesn't, but it goes into the nucleus, and it shows you he breaks it completely down and how it comes and it exits out. Let's see. Let me get this back here. And that's another thing, like you said, after primed by the vaccine, these T cells release a destructive molecules that destroy the host cells if infected with the SARS-CoV-2 virus in the future, not the host cell producing the vaccine, right? It's just tons and tons of information. And what I mean, this brother breaks it down, color codes everything. So maybe if you don't understand, you don't remember the words, you understand the color codes. Now, when I taught IT, now I teach IT. I teach how to build computers, take them apart, how to troubleshoot hard drives, you name it, software, troubleshooting. I teach it all. Windows, you put something in front of me, I can break it down to a cartoon. Because if you can't remember reading, if you're having problems, and I break it down to a cartoon that you can draw for yourself, then you can learn it. And that's my process of, and I've never had anybody sit in any of my classes that did not pass a national certification. So I have a 100% success rate when it comes to training individuals, and that's why I said I'm gonna have to start, going back to training individuals doing it. That's a skill, that another thing blessed inside. So I like teaching kids too, because they learn. So in that, then he goes down to AstraZeneca, which was, this is the drug that it was not even it's just now starting to be tested in America, but its testing came from Brazil and the UK. And so it does function a little bit different, and it had a little bit different success rates than the other ones. This one had hit like a 90%, and two shots, and they said, of course, and they're giving people placebos. So in the testing, people are getting placebos where you're not even getting the real shot. They're only giving you a placebo just to see. And they said, so how many people who even got the placebo got affected with a severe cases, and then people who were in the test group with the vaccine versus. Now, again, I can't tell you what to do and what not to do. I'm trying to lead you to a place where you can get more information. Even with your children, if you sit down and you have kids, and the kids have not understood what they're battling against, this is also a good way to educate yourself. Now, and again, I'm not telling you that I'm the authority. Because when the African speaks, he speaks from authority. So my authority is education right now. My authority is seeking information right now. My authority is helping share what I found. And this was just a few days ago where, I located it, and I'm like halfway through watching it twice because I want to clearly, I have the framework of how this thing works. Have I made the decision? Yeah, I'm not making my right. I'll tell you how I'm approaching it. Um, I need to see the after effects on black people from a long term perspective. And I believe I can stay healthy myself, maintain and sustain my health myself. My diet is clean. Can't say no better. My diet is clean. My body absorbs what it needs to absorb when it needs to absorb it. I just got to work on getting rest. And that's when I'm ill, it's because I've done so much work within my community. I probably only slept, 2 to 3 hours a night. And that I can't do. That has to change. And I can do that for a while. Then all of a sudden, boom, it might start shooting down. So once I start sleeping, it might level off, level off, level off, and it takes a minute before I start shooting back up again. So I have to be conscious as the more season I get, how much wear and tear I put on this vehicle that the Creator gave. Because the spirit is always willing, but that body be like, yeah, hey, man, I can't carry the way I used to. And so for me, I'm sitting out because I'm still educating myself. I'm still opening myself to more and more information. I don't doubt anything in terms of whether or not it's effective, whether it's not effective. It says it suppresses the symptoms. So you can have it with the vaccine. You can still get it and become, according to what I'm understanding, and still be asymptomatic. That means somebody else can get it from you. You're just not being affected by it. Ain't that something? That's part I have to sit still to learn. I have to sit still to know. In the video, if I can find it where he has it, where he breaks down the results of the testing. And I don't know if y'all seeing if anybody's breaking this down for you, if y'all looking for this, if y'all seeing this, but this is important. He's breaking down. And so again, how much do you know about the world around you and how much are you seeking it? How much are you spending the time to educate yourself, or are you still complaining that the fact that we are quarantined? How are you using your time? At the end of the using your time, it's nothing. Really? All them people gone, transition to the ancestral realm, it's nothing. How it attacked our community. Why is our community so plagued with pre-existing conditions? Because we are in an oppressive state and our bodies are always compressed. That I can talk about. Our body is always strict, and so we are draining ourselves of the things that we need because we don't control food, clothes, and shelter. And just living decent as human beings is a battle for us. There's no other race watching, or and we might have to talk about the murder case, watching it transpire. We're sitting here. We don't have, there's no other race going through this talking about police brutality the way we talking about police brutality. There's no other race in this country talking about how black women dying because of the medical facility. We are always the subject or the downtrodden race in this country. So we here. And that's a wear and tear on our spirit. It's a wear and tear on our psyche. It's a wear and tear on our bodies. So we are going to have pre-existing conditions living in an oppressive society. But one of the pre-existing conditions that we can't have living in an oppressive society is ignorance. Woo! I'm going to say that again. One of the things that we cannot have as a pre-existing condition living in an oppressive society is ignorance. That needs to stop. Especially when we have, because back in the day, there used to be a brother who went around the area and gave us encyclopedias. What's this, ma? Yeah, just in case you need to study something. I had a friend, One Love. I'm going to shout him out because he was a good friend in college, and until we got adults. You know how it is. But he's still a good friend of mine. Greg Aguilera and Anthony, well, we're going to say Greg and Ethan. Ethan, what was Ethan's last name? Ethan, what's your last name? It was the furniture. um, we call it Ethan Allen, right? But Ethan. And so in that space, they would literally sit and read the encyclopedia just because. Just because. When they got a report, it didn't matter what they need to do to report on. They would throw the encyclopedias up, and wherever the book landed, he closed his eyes and pointed his finger and said, "That's what I'm doing." That's how much he was inundated with information, and how much comes out. That's wisdom, because he was able to use it. He's doing well for himself. One love. I haven't Zimmerman. That was Ethan Allen Zimmerman. So Ethan Allen Zimmerman. There we go. I had to let it come out. So one love, Ethan. I haven't seen or heard from you in years, and I hope your family's doing well. So I'm sending out shouts. Now, ignorance is not something that it needs to be, because they tried to make that a pre-existing condition. When they made it illegal for us to read and write, and they killed us for it. Why? Because you cannot enslave an ignorant people. You can't. So now when they put information at the palm of your hand, information at the palm of your hand, and I got to get this. We living in a society that puts information at the palm of our hands, and how we not use it is our problem. So that pre-existing condition that we have is not only ignorance, but the unwillingness to educate yourself and the family that surrounds you, or the people that surround you. That's a problem. That is also a pre-existing condition. When you're using only the internet only for the purpose of entertaining you and dumbing you down so you don't realize the severity of the life in which you live, that's a big problem. That's a big problem. And that's something that we have to stop, and that's something that we have to change. YouTube University. I know how to say it more. YouTube University. I don't know how to say it more. Now let me see if I can find where he breaks it down. Now in this space, he's breaking down how many people was tested, how many people got the placebo. Out of the placebo, which is the fake vaccine, as all as it's saline, how many people came down with the severe case using Moderna? So in the placebo for Moderna, 30 people got it out of 185, and these are the ones who got severe cases. Now, with the vaccine test, 11 people tested positive for COVID from Moderna. 11 people tested positive in their test results. 0%. 0 people was tested, or had out of the 11 people who were positive, 0 had severe cases. What? This is information you need to know. Let me see if I get Pfizer down. Number of vaccine that they produce, and he's got that. So let's get down there. Let's get to some more to the Pfizer where he's doing it some more. And this is the breakout. And this is what I mean by if you can see it. Hopefully you can see it. You screen up close. Pfizer, 43,000 people tested. And this is just tests. Now my question is, how many of those 43,000 people were African Americans? That's what I need to know. How many of them was African Americans? Because that is almost never done. They don't test medicines on us. And it's always not enough research or data on how it affects black people. We just jump in like we get in where we think we fit in. Woo! We get in where we think we fit in, but that's the information we need to know. And so from Dr. Warren Rubin, he says, hold up. Wait until the further test, because they're going to be testing this. This is why you're getting tracked. Testing after testing after testing after testing. They're going to test it. Because they need to see what's there. It says with the Pfizer, he said 162 people was positive from the just blanket test. Placebo, saline. It wasn't a real vaccine. People just thought they did. So now this is where they said, when people say, it's in your mind, psychosomatic. Sometimes they give you saline with the water pill. They give you saline just so that you think that you got something to make you heal. Well, out of the 162 people, only 9 people. That doesn't mean 162 people. Now, out of the 43,000 people, 162 people tested positive, and only 9 out of the 162 had severe cases. Placebo. Now, those who were testing with the vaccine, out of 43,000 people, Those people who got the vaccine of Pfizer, 8 out of the 43,000 people tested positive. And I think it says he's one severe case. One. What? One. That's something to talk about. But my question is, why? How many of us? How many was it us? When they create these vaccines, they don't take us into consideration, and that's what is being talked about. So we jump out there and we say, okay, let's get it. So even if you're going to jump out there and you're not, and you're going to take it, know which one you're taking and why you're taking it. Not because one shot or two shots, but because of the efficacy. And let that be the word for the day: efficacy. What does this thing do? Again, I'm not the authority. I'm showing you where I got my data from, and having you to go out there and you can test it for yourself. Now, if I can show you this one, where they talk about this one now, and this one wasn't even tested in Brazil. They're doing tests in America now. Woo, woo! This one was incredible. It even blew his mind. 90,000 people tested in Brazil. 90,000 people tested in the UK. Now the vaccine, the placebo group was, you got one full shot, a dose of the placebo, and then one full shot, days later, of the vaccine or whatever, how they worked it out. So now, in one full shot of the vaccine, this is how they vaccinated, and the placebo. This is the placebo. Now what they did for the Brazil and UK, they didn't give them saline. They gave them actual vaccine, but it wasn't the coronavirus vaccine, because they wanted people to have symptoms as though they got a real vaccine, just to see what happened. Look at what happened. 62% efficacy in terms of this one. Now, in the UK, they made an accident. They were supposed to give a full version of the vaccine, but they didn't. They gave a half of one and then one. And they said, oh, we got to fix this. So when they fixed it, they sat down and said, look, when we gave people the first vaccine, and because they gave the placebo 1 and 1, and then they gave the vaccine 1 and 1 in Brazil. UK, they gave the placebo group a half of 1 and 1, and the vaccine group a half of 1 and 1 by accident. You weren't supposed to get half of the vaccination. You're supposed to get all of the vaccination. But by accident, they gave the vaccine, AstraZeneca, they gave them half of it. But look at the percent of half the vaccine. 90% efficacy on half the vaccine. What? And now they got to do research, because now it's in production. This is not testing no more. They just put these in production because they said, look at the rate that they're getting, right? Look at the rate that they're getting. But this is clear. What I want to know, and what we have to know as black people, how many of us is in these test groups? How many of us is in these test groups? And what's happening in these test groups? So this is what they're doing now. They got to redo the test, because they want to know why, when you give a half a dose and a whole dose, you get 90% efficacy. But when you get a whole dose and a whole dose, you only got 70% efficacy. What? They still tested. But they felt like, because we're trying to move this country forward and get this economy and people's lives back on track, we got enough success rate to say, okay, let's go. Now, there's no long-term studies on this. Whoever took it is the long-term study. That's why they're tracking you. Whoever took it, you are the long-term study. Now, we've seen individuals who've had, I had to pray with the sister before she left the job, but we've seen individuals who had, Parsons disease. They headaches. Then after a while, they started shaking, and all of a sudden, they couldn't move. It's just it. They got that tremor. How do you get that? When it's cellular. When these vaccines go into your cellular transformation. How do you get that out? They're not talking about that because there's a sister who went and there's a Jamaican sister. And I didn't show you. I'm not trying to scare you, but she took it, and some days later, she couldn't control her body. Now I'm not saying that to scare you. I'm saying that we need to know the numbers of the test. How many was it us? And what let's get that information. And if you they care about us as a people, not even you're talking about humanity. God said, "Let us make man." Man was not a gender. Man was a species, and we're going to make man in our image. And when God made man in His image, then He said, "We're going to make man and woman, male and female, rather." Then the genders came, but we were a species that was created in the Creator's image. And if these governments care about man, then why don't they break down how these vaccines affect each type of man so we can make a choice of which vaccine to take before they sit down and say you make it mandatory like they do with our kids, and they said that some of those vaccines caused autism and they knew it. Come on. We got to be smart about this. Not be, oh, I'm just trying to be safe. Why? Which one did you take and why? When you can't answer it, that means you made a move out of ignorance. And that's a pre existing condition that cannot live within us when we can make a change. Because we're not yet in that place to change our oppressive society, but some of us are working on it. Pan African Orthodox Christian Church, we're working on it. Shrines of the Black Madonna, we're working on it. We're working on being able to control everything around us. Self-determination is what God's people should be focused on. Self-determination so that we have the ability and I'll say, was it Ghana pushing out Switzerland, saying that we're no longer giving our raw resources to you because we can live as a stronger people if we keep our cocoa bean that makes chocolate. We can have the world famous chocolate. The only reason why Switzerland has the world's famous chocolate is because it takes the resources. We're not taking our resources anymore. We're going to be the world's famous chocolate producers. That's a $10 billion industry. Why are we giving you the $10 billion industry when we can have it for ourselves? Self-determination. But that's when you're looking at information and you're sitting there and you're making the decision to have control, power over the decisions you make, not just blindly do it. And I'm hoping with this that we clearly make a decision to not be blind about why we take something and why we don't. Let the African in you speak. Let the spirit in you that is making a decision based off of knowledge and wisdom that you obtained. Let that be the difference. Let that be the reason. Let that be your focus. And that's important. What I showed you and what we walked through and what you was educated on came from the brother calling himself the Ninja Nerd. And maybe you can find a whole bunch of stuff on his site, on his page, and I'm supporting the Ninja Nerd. Why? Because it gave me information that I didn't have that I couldn't find nowhere else, in a way that made it easier for me to receive it and obtain it. Now, I don't know how you receive information and obtain it. Some people like to sit down and read medical journals. I can do it if that's what I wanted to do. And some things that I had to read medically, yeah, that's how I did. I'm going to sit down and read a medical journal. Oh, wow. It's interesting. Some things I need fast information. And so maybe when they come out and they break down, if I could find a medical journal that triggers me. This is wow. This is a topic that somebody wrote that pulls me spiritually. I can sit down and read that. But if you don't have it, I know one thing that you do have, because if you don't have the medical journals coming out and you don't know where to go to get the medical journals, I can show you how to get some information. And that's everything and anything. YouTube University is real. Let it not be our pre-existing condition of ignorance not to seek information that helps us move forward. And then when you gain information, like if anybody asks me, why aren't you taking it? I can explain it to them detailed why. But if they said, well, which one, if you would take it, which one? Now, I'm not going to say that on, that's not where I'm at. I'm going to give you all the information like I just did. I'm going to give you the efficacy on each one of them. I can tell you which one actually enters into the nucleus of your cell and which one doesn't. They both produce the same result. They both produce the same result. So if they both produce the same result, why would I want to take something that enters into the nucleus of my cell? You know, but then if it producing the nucleus of my cell, if that seems like a more powerful approach to produce the antibodies that I need, why wouldn't I take that? That's what I got to continue to study now. Looking at the one from AstraZeneca, so with a half a dose and a full dose, 90% efficacy. So I don't have the full, the amount that goes in my body is different. Let me take a look at that now. Or I can just pray to say, look, I hope everybody takes it so y'all won't get it and y'all ain't got to worry about if I take it or not. And all I have to do is live clean. And so if it does attack in the pre-existing condition, my body can fight it off. Living clean is always the answer. Finding a way to be able to spiritually release the stresses you have, or we have as black people living in an oppressive society, so the pre-existing conditions don't creep up on us and control our day. Now, yeah, my last battle was with high blood pressure, and I was like, to the point where they're trying to give me medication. And I was like, whoa, it's because I wasn't sleeping. I had to stop, rest, eat clean, exercise, get my life back. Now I watch it on a regular basis because I always push my body to the limit. And the African in me that speaks says, stay clean, stay focused, and be mindful of the temple that God gave. Any information that man creates, do not omit the information that is given to man, because it is divine wisdom that comes down to be able to create this stuff. This is our mathematics and science that they're using to create this stuff. So instead of just running from it, know about it. Educate yourself on it. And if anybody comes around you needing that support, sit down with them. Talk to them. It's a beautiful thing. Let the African in you speak from a place of wisdom, understanding, a place of concern, and a place of love, and a place of authority. One love.